Hello everyone, I'm Coyote Yaga, and let's see about this one because I noticed something like that. When if you want to like copy or inspire yourself about something, you should rather focus on the elements you want to get in your game that actually works. Like even if I give most rogue example, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original one from 2007. And if you could add, I would add a Survivor mode that had prompted tier entry in 2011. But for the rest of the game, like the content, story, designs, if it was something like Girls from Online, yeah, man, that would sell like hotcakes. I'm not going to deny that. And if you add split screen, even if it's for PC, yeah, you could say, but no, I'm enjoying seeing that functionality to this day. Well, we have this one from Automaton. Japanese FPS dev shares theory on why AAA developers in Japan fail at making first-person shooter games. Quote unquote, they all try to copy code and set themselves up for failure. Yeah, like, I want this to be the next Call of Duty killer, the Halo killer. I want to make this other one that is going to be the WoW killer. Yeah, I heard this one ranting from Raging Golden Eagle a lot about live services like World of Warcraft. And the only ones that end up killing World of Warcraft is Blizzard itself, just as much Call of Duty killing, being killed by Activision. Then all goes down in circles from those corpus. But yeah, other companies saying, yeah, we're going to do the same shit. Nah, I would say if you copy the gameplay, the data actually works, and you add some waifus. Yeah, go full Girls from Line. But let's continue. So, what comes to mind when you think about of a quote-unquote Japanese first-person shooting game? Maybe something along the lines of Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, or Resident Evil Village. Those two examples are westernized as fuck. So let's continue. While some other titles may pop up, most of them just aren't comparable to hit games in genres such as the obvious JRPGs of action games, which now indies are taking the mantle, getting that out of my chest. Per se, there are, in fact, many Japanese first person shooter games, even by AAA companies, that feel like the developers just couldn't find the sweet spot that could launch them to success. If my memory serves me right, didn't Banco had one with Gundam? But like I remember a video of It's a Gundam, the YouTuber, that he was ranting because the game, yeah, despite it being his favorite franchise, it was kind of dog shit in a lot of aspects, especially because they were pushing it in a live service. Yeah, they fuck up there. Well, let's continue. However, interesting enough, not one of the only, if not the only successful first-person shooters in Japan, beyond Citadel. Yeah, this one, I ranted about this one. It looks nice, I'm not going to deny that. From what I have seen, it plays nice, but the optimization leaves so much to be desired for a game that is pixelated or, well, has pixel art. It also forces you to have an SSD and a lot of memory RAM. And yeah, that one I don't see that as an like an excuse for not optimizing their game. Yeah, even I have to say Japan for quite a while lacked a lot about game optimization, or because they were focusing on consoles for the most of their lifetime. And kinda they're seeing a little too late, in my opinion. That yeah, if you don't optimize your game on PC, in current years you are kinda fucked. So let's continue. Was actually created by an indie developer. Yeah, even like I said, yeah, I remember this one is from an indie developer, but still, I wish that developer would have put a lot of effort into optimization because the requirements for this game that is like your clone, a Doom clone, but with waifus, and you can get the waifu stripper out of their clothes. Still, it requires a lot of resources from your PC. But well, let's continue. That developer who goes under the name Dueku Ramori post, posted a 10 of their X account proposing a theory on why AAA developers in Japan haven't been able to create a successful FPS game. Oh, because they tried to copy the West, right? Yeah, I know. I already said that. We already jump into the most obvious conclusion. So they said that in the past years, many major developers focused on trying to replicate other Western hit shooters such as Call of Duty, and now Call of Duty started copying Fortnite and being cringe about it, and failed rather than riding on Western trends. Yeah, this one is a lot to rant off because we are chasing trends, wherever, and then the industry chases all of the horrible trends and corner themselves around a rope in their neck waiting to be pulled out, like the executioner waiting to just yeah, pull the trigger, pull pull the stake and make that cord just hang in there. Let's continue. The indie developer says that the key to making successful games FPS is to focus on making gameplay Japanese devs actually excelled at, which I absolutely agree. Something that actually works and fill it with the elements that your core audience will want. Yeah, basic research, right? Basic research. But at the end of the day, it's research that is valuable because something that I don't have to tell that is common sense. A lot of people tend to lack of when they are developing something. Or even make something that you will enjoy yourself, that you really want to see. But also you have to be consistent. So yeah, you need to do a research. It's important to do a research, even in every single aspect of a field. Even you have to actually do research and not jump straight out into the fire without a plan. Yeah, so at least this one actually knows what he's talking about. So Doeku Karamori starts there in there to explaining that the reason why most Japanese Call of Duty like first-person shooters fail is because Japanese people do not have the needed knowledge of military history to be able to create a COD-like game. That's the issue. They try like copy Call of Duty. You know, if the good old days of Call of Duty with Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare, you know, they copied the conflict between the East and the West, between Russia, and then, well, at the Middle East, because they had people that knew full well those conflicts, they had access to that, and they did their research and create something that customers that they were first-person shooter players would want. That was in the past when they actually do the research. In the case of Japan, like I said, most of the stuff that they actually know how to do well, at least from what I have seen from anime and manga, Ghost in the Shell. You could do a Hansel shooter, but well, now they have just a Alucard in a skin of Call of Duty. Yeah. But well, continue on with this one. They had elements that they're focused on JRPG, but I have to tell you this: those elements, if they were like science fiction, hell, even something like Valkyria Chronicles, even though I know that game is a strategy game, if they focused at least on making it like a war game, but at least keeping the gameplay fun, consistent, and delivering the story, yeah, they could have a certain amount of success, but no, they did not do that. They were chasing the trends of Call of Duty. Yeah, like I say, if you don't do your research well, you are going to fuck it up. But it's kind of funny when China, with Girls Frontline, they researched Japan and the stuff that well the Japanese audience want, and took pretty well all that military aspects. Yeah, I have to say that. Yeah, I got convinced with that game. I'm even playing it. So let's continue. Japanese developers trying playing in a field that they were inherently not great at and they failed. Yeah, even I have to say, most of the time the West could do actually good FPS when they put the effort on, and racing games. Racing games, the only one that was kind of successful was Gran Turismo and Ridge Racer, and they killed those in Japan. Well, we are still seeing the corpse of Gran Turismo being, well, rolling there out in the walls that is called PlayStation 5 because of what they did, they turned it into live service. I not even have it, the elements from Gran Turismo 4. Yeah, fucking Sony, you know. Japanese corpo AAA. Yeah, it makes sense a lot. So they continue. They note that even Western developers themselves had a hard time trying to mimic the game that Call of Duty is with Medal of Honor Warfighter, as one of the most evident examples, especially because Call of Duty itself was created by the original Medal of Honor development team, and they were kicked out because alleged insubordination, and well, they went back to EA and they are now a Respawn Entertainment. Mm, so let's continue. With even Western developers struggling to make a successful COD-like game, which they fuck up. And I remember I played Medal of Honor Warfighter. I even played the one that came before, which I have to say was better than Warfighter. So yeah, if you copy like the successful part in story, I have to be honest. Yeah, I have to be honest. EA when they did Medal of Honor 2010, actually I really liked the story because they were kind of doing at least something different from once. So you were seeing like the operation when 9/11 happened, and then all those operations, the multiplayer maps, they are well parts of that operation that got declassified years later. And they did the memorial for the character you were playing now because yeah, a little spoiler, your character dies, Rabbit dies, and yeah, it's inspired by a real life uh, it's Navy SEAL that they did a statue on. And but the rest of the game, yeah, they were kind of doing generic gameplay and see if it sticks. They stopped halfway because EA were not giving full resources or at least a fucking effort to give a single fuck to what it was that studio. Yeah, it was that studio that got shut down. Danger Close. Yeah, I still remember. I still have a physical copy of Medal of Honor 2010 and Warfighter. Yeah, I finished those campaigns, and I have to say, in story they were great in their own mind, in their own kind. If you want to see it like that, for the rest of the stuff, multiplayer aspects, nah, they fuck it up because yeah, they were doing the Call of Duty chase trending there, and yeah, the OG Call of Duty, yeah, they were good. They still were good. They were like, of course, like overly Hollywood style, if you could see it that way. But they were delivering, and they tried to replicate that success, but only by chasing the trend and not doing the full research of why that game was successful. Yeah, it's the same aspect when you like. I already repeated this many times already. You do not do your research, yeah, you're going to have a very rough time. So let's continue. So the most entertaining thing about Call of Duty, they continue. Yeah, it's effortlessly cool. It was. However, Japanese code-like games could not replicate this. They said that while code gameplay wasn't perfect, the cool production made it barely noticeable, which resulted in a great overall experience. However, as they explained, gameplay is Japanese developers' stronger suit, and by giving up in favor of making a game similar to Call of Duty, they ultimately set themselves up to failure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely true. The suggestion for Japanese developers who want to succeed at making a AAA first-person shooter is to stop trying to make Call of Duty. Exactly. Thank you. and compete in the market with games that they are naturally good at making. As example of Japanese games that succeed in this is Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, and Resident Evil Village. Yeah, even for all the crap, I always give to Capcom. At least when it comes to how you do shooters, at least they were the only ones since that they had at least a little glimpse of an idea. Well, despite of many fuck ups, or probably because they even hired someone that actually knew how to make first-person shooters. I believe it will be the latter. So, Japanese game direction generally ends up looking redundant when they are trying to make it resemble Western movies or TV series. They explain. Yeah, well. Even Kojima Productions, that is currently the closest studio to nailing that bite, can't avoid that. Japanese developers don't have enough knowledge to create such a military team it works, and the audience lacks the knowledge as well. So the people who developed Call of Duty had acquired a lot of knowledge on the topic, and the same goes for the audience. Doe Kuma, excuse me, Doe Kuramori explains the developers trust the audience to know all these things, so they can just casually drop niche information without any explanation, not worrying that the audience won't be able to understand it, and that's what makes the games cool. Kojima Productions doesn't have the knowledge, but it does not trust its audience. This is why they start explaining each and every detail, and that's how their games end up feeling redundant. Yeah, having explaining all of that. Oh, hey, you should. This is how you should play this game. Instead of even having the mechanics or at least being tested in a way that the player is actually knowing. Oh yeah, I know how to see this stuff. Oh, I get the idea of where this is heading. Even if some things keeps getting repetitive, at least if the design is at least in a way that it doesn't get the user tired, yeah, you're free to go. Or at least, you know what, something that is kind of repetitive, but I enjoyed the most was Metal Slug games. Because even if, it was a mission, getting harder, just pressing and shooting, jumping and throwing on grenades, you needed to be at the perspective of how you're going to get killed in that game. And in arcades, yeah, you learn how to pass that game with one single coin. But even I know it as one is a run and gun game, it's the same aspect, keeping the parts at work, and yeah, the success is there. So ultimately, Call of Duty is a game that is entertaining to play because of its production, and when that's the case, trying to spell out everything to the player will be just redundant. So Doe Kuramori says, if the cool buy is what makes Call of Duty work as a game, then you shouldn't spread every little detail. Yeah. However, if you're going to entertain the player through the actual gameplay, then you need to properly explain the rules. Yeah. At first, and even giving the example again with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original one, the tutorial telling you, oh, you shoot like this, uh, well, changing to your short weapon is faster than reloading. The famous quote that to this day still sticks. Use your knife. And here is a more example of the training mission, a training course. Completed in a skilled amount of time if you can. At that point you already explained the player what could expect, and all the rest of the details, depending on how you're creating the story, they are going to work fine. So yeah, this one already said it best. That you do not chase trends. You try to create your own, taking inspirations out of it and doing your research. If not, yeah, you are going to set yourself with a lot of failures. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching and please take care.